Hello everyone, Elspeth here, and we are back in another How to Get Started series. So this time we're going to take a look at City Skylines, and I'm going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to do 2 episodes about how to get started without any mods. You can see 0 of 45 enabled. And then we're going to do another 2 episodes about how to get started with mods. So a little something for everyone's computer, because that's largely what's going to determine whether or not you're running a lot of mods, is how good your CPU is. Because City Skylines is going to crunch through your available CPU power pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and get started here. One other quick thing you'll notice down here, I have all of the DLC installed. So if my game looks different from yours, that's why. Now, when we click on New Game, here are all of the maps that we can start on. Now, here at the top of the list, you will see all of the maps that come included with the base game and all of the various DLCs. While below, you will see the maps downloaded directly from the Steam Workshop. Right now, we're just going to look at the standard maps that come with the game. You'll see next to some of the maps, they have different little icons. That is indicating which DLC that map comes with. Now, right now, I'm going to assume that maybe you guys don't have any of the DLC. And we're just going to start with a basic map that comes with the base game. The other things you're going to want to look at, you can sort here. You can sort by name, theme, or buildable area. I usually sort by buildable area because I want a really good open starting area. Now, when you look at a map, when you click on it here, you'll see kind of your starting square. We'll get to that in a moment. Down here, you're going to see what that map has to offer. So how much water it has, what outside connections it has, highway, rail or train, no ship connections on this one, and it does have plane connections. Suitable area for building is 78%. The base theme is temperate. You can load a custom map theme if you have any installed. We'll get to that later. And then over here you have your natural resources. So you've got your oil, your ore, farming resources, so fertile ground, and then your forestry resources. Now, you can either pre-plan your city and decide that you're going to be an industry city, in which case you would want a lot of natural resources available, or you can kind of just wing it. Totally up to you. That's one of the joys of this game, is that it's very open form. You can pick whatever direction you want to go in. So we've got a few different options here for maps, and you'll see these down here change with each different map that you click on. I'm going to go back up here to Two Rivers because that has a really nice starting area in terms of available land. That 78%, I really like that. So we'll go ahead and start here, and I will see you in just a moment when we have actually loaded up the game. All right, so here we are. We have our starting tile available to us here. And just in case this little dotted line starts to inspire bad memories in any of you, don't worry. We can expand it. But we'll get to that in a moment. So, first off, we need to obviously connect our city to the highway so we can get people in. Now, the first thing we'll have to do is lay down a little bit of road to unlock that. Lay down the smallest road you possibly can. Now, what I have done is go into the asset editor and actually make assets that will allow me to lay down an initial starting area without incurring too much of an expense. So I have all these different nice little beginning city entrances here that I can choose from. And I chose to make these out of the very initial starting roads because that way I can lay them down immediately versus some of these other assets that are blacked out. That means I haven't unlocked them yet. And you'll see some of these are too big to fit our starting space. So if you choose to do this, which does make it a little bit easier at first, just be aware that you're going to have to pick something that will actually work for your starting area. I'm going to go with this one. Then whenever I make an asset, I always make one end shorter than the other. It just seems to make them connect better. And you're going to get those nice little tips that pop up as you go along. You can just disregard those once you've read them. Always read them first, then disregard. Never ignore something right away. Now what I'm doing here is dropping down water intake, the water pumping station, and then a water outlet, the water drain pipe, so we can get water coming into our city and sewage going out of our city. The next thing that we need to worry about is power, right here. I tend to start out with a coal power plant because the wind power plants, at most you get 8 megawatts for 6,000. Whereas with this, you get 40 for 19,000. You're going to run through that initial 8 very quickly. But totally up to you. Personal preference. Some people are going to want to have a very nice green city. And the wind turbines will allow you to do that. So you can kind of keep that in mind, that it's an option that you'll be able to use with the wind turbines. Whereas if you go with the coal, you're not using natural power, kind of missing out on some of the achievements, initial unlocks, things like that. So now, what this layout is an initial design for my industrial area and my city entrance. I have to build off of this in order to have residential. So that's what we're going to do right now. And you'll see these lines here. That shows up once I get halfway through. That is 10 units, 10 units of length. So the game is helping you to measure. It will also show you your angle. You'll see I'm at a 90-degree angle here. Now, if I go a little bit further out, right there, you'll see the second line appears up here. That tells me that I'm at 15 because that line appears when you are at 5 units. So I will go ahead and take that, curve that around right there. Go ahead and move that up just a little bit. Now we need water. And about 440, or what ends up being roughly 22 units, is the best spacing. So just kind of keep that in mind, because if you overlap your water pipes, you are paying for extra coverage for no good reason. So especially at the beginning, when you're trying really, really hard to be super economical with your city, you want to be careful about paying for things that you don't need. Take these a little further out here. And then I'm going to take the road a little further out. I like to have a 15 unit spacing in between my roads, because that will allow me to widen the road later if I need to. It will allow me to build a small little park area in the middle if I want to. It just gives me a little bit of flexibility for future planning. Now the next thing we want to do is zone everything here. Now there's a couple different zoning tools. You can fill, which basically just fills in absolutely everything in that area. One of my favorites is the marquee tool, because this will allow you to actually draw out your zoning, which is incredibly helpful. Now, because I can't afford to extend the power lines any further, I'm going to zone right up to them I'm going to press play and I'm going to kick it immediately into the fastest possible speed so that we can get some people moving in. Now that I've got power going to them, now I'll zone over here on the other side of the road. But I want to be careful with my zoning that I'm letting the power jump from place to place instead of getting myself into a situation where I have too little power to go around because I have big gaps of zoning. So now I'm just following my RCI. So if you've ever played SimCity 4, you're familiar with your RCI. It's your demand for zoning. We're just going to follow that for a little bit here. Let some zoning come in. I'm going to zone near the power lines first, of course, and I'm going to leave it on 3 speed here. Just because we're losing a lot of money, so we really do need our population to jump up as fast as possible. And this little amount isn't really going to do it. So we're going to have to zone in a few additional areas. It's kind of unfortunate because I don't like doing this, but we need the zoning to come in. Now you can see we're losing less money, which means that people are coming in, they are paying taxes, and we are generating actual revenue, which of course is what we always want. So basically what you're doing is letting the simulation run. And now unfortunately these are outside of our water coverage, which sucks, but we're going to have to live with that until we get some extra money. That extra money is going to come when we get to our first milestone or unlock. And that little tracker is over here, the little unlock sign with the green behind it. Our first milestone is a population of 420. We're getting there. So your basic goal is to kind of try and hold out until you get to that very first milestone. Because then, there we go, you unlock more things. Taxes, loans, garbage, healthcare, education. Here are the buildings associated with those things. You also get a cash infusion, which is really what we're hoping for here, so that we can expand. And you always want to focus on expanding your residential first, because your residential is what is going to actually get you tax revenue. Yes, you do make some money off of your commercial and off of your industrial, but nowhere near as much money as you make off of residential. Now, I'm going to go ahead and piss everybody off right here, and I'm going to unzone them all because I don't really want residential here anyway. I want them all to move up here. So we're just going to kind of push that, and they'll be annoyed with us, and that's okay. They'll get over it and move in. Now, the first thing that I found you usually have a demand for is trash. So I usually go ahead and plop that down right away because I know we're going to need it soon. Generally speaking, you don't want to give your citizens too much before they've actually asked for it, because then you're just basically wasting money. So you do want to be careful about that. But like I said, trash is generally the first thing that I always need, so I just go ahead and put it down. Healthcare is going to be the next one. As soon as we have enough money, you'll see that these are grayed out because, well, they're not grayed out. They've got that little circle and cross over them because we're broke. We can't afford it. So we have to wait. Those cost $10,000. We have a little over $3,000. The good news, though, is that we are positive. We are making money. That's that nice little green number with the plus sign in front of it. And over here, we have another plus sign and another green number, which is our population. We're growing. That's another good thing. We are also close to our next milestone, right over here. Now, generally speaking, you're basically going to follow this same formula, if you will. just carefully expanding. Try not to expand too much too fast. And now we have our next unlock. Now here's the part that I was telling you about earlier where we can expand beyond the dotted line. New areas. What that means is that we can unlock another area. We can purchase another tile to continue to grow our city. So like I said, don't worry, don't panic. We can get more space. And then of course everything else that we've unlocked. Districts, policies, a second loan, district specializations, services policies, emergency services, police department, unique buildings. I do think it's kind of funny that we have an emergency services and a police department. Emergency services is actually your fire department. That's what that is. Hence the little fireman helmet there. Forestry specialization and agriculture specialization are your first two industry specializations that you unlock. You have a residential specialization, a commercial specialization. Now be careful before you enable those because that will have an effect on the rest of your city. For instance, the residential one. Self-sufficient residential buildings recycle their waste and produce energy with solar panels and by other means. It consumes 30% less electricity, produces 30% less garbage, but it also generates 30% less tax income. So if you're trying to focus on boosting your tax revenue, that might not be a good thing to do for your city right away. Now, organic and local produce produces 50% of sold goods locally. Truck traffic in the area is reduced by 50%, so that's going to help your traffic congestion. But it increases your electricity consumption by 20%, and it reduces your garbage production by 20%. So everything is a trade-off, basically. And then, of course, we have policies, power usage, water usage, smoke detector distribution, and the new buildings associated with what we unlocked. Now, we don't want to jump right in and immediately use up everything that we just got. I know it can be tempting. We got a lot of cool stuff, but we do need to be careful. And I'm going to bulldoze a couple of houses here to plop this guy in right there. And you want to be careful when you're putting any of these down. You'll see before you put it anywhere near a road, all those nice little red things, those are all high hazard areas. So all your houses, all these trees over here, that's a hazard for a forest fire. Now, when you go to put it down, it's going to connect to the road, and everything that shows up in green, that's what's going to be covered by this. That's its coverage zone, basically. So you want to think about where you need that coverage, because as you move the building, the zone changes. So right now, we're going to take this and we're going to put it over here because your industrial area is very prone to fires. So we would like to keep them from all burning to a crisp. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call this an end to the first episode. I'm going to let the simulation run for a while longer, and then we're going to come back for the second episode. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the service buildings and expanding on your city and moving beyond that first initial rush of, oh my God, I started a city. All right, so be sure to hit that like button if you've enjoyed the video, if you found it helpful. Please, by all means, subscribe for more. If you have any questions or comments, drop those down in the comments section below. And I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.